As the cliche goes, April showers bring May flowers. But usually what comes after is the heat and dryness of summer. Hello again, SA here. And before the hot weather of the holiday shows up, you should indulge in my new short story, The White Cat, a free exclusive on Substack. The links are down below in description. Join Margot Thompson, a beautiful stage actress and recent widow who finds salvation in the form of a white cat during a night of terror. While checking out my oddball thriller, remember that my Glitch series is still available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The links are down below in the description. While you'll find my peculiar story about a white pussy entertaining, that doesn't mean I'm out of ideas. I still have more stories coming down the pike, so as long as I don't run into any mishaps, you'll see those stories as well. Now let's get back to the video. Hello again, SA here. Anyone who's ever gone to a store, regular store, nothing fancy, probably noticed that the certain items are usually locked up, usually behind glass partitions. Stuff that can easily be stolen, like say lottery tickets or liquor. Yeah, that happens. I mean, because I remember a few short years ago, there was a real Donnybrook that broke out at the local Ralph store. Yeah, way up there on 3rd Street in Vermont. Yeah, LAPD got called and everything. What happened? Someone walked in there and tried to boost a bunch of liquor bottles and walk out of the store with them. And of course, the security guard, they only had like one, because that neighborhood is not like in the ghetto. They tried to stop the guy and a fight broke out. And before he even asked the question, the liquor got smashed, and the guy later got arrested for fighting the security guard. And this happened a few years back. This happened I think it was like 2000, sometimes 2010, 2015. Now, of course, some of you have noticed that since that time, that kind of behavior has been happening a lot. And it's been going, and in some places, it's gotten really, really bad. Like in San Francisco, for example, or Seattle, or, oh my God, certain parts of New York City. I mean, good grief. If you have a drugstore, where it be a CVS or Walgreens in these neighborhoods and these zip codes, oh my God, you go in there, everything is locked up, including the children's aspirin. And you say, why is that? Because of this organized theft. I mean, you're not talking about just some one clown going in there trying to boost a bottle of a damn gin or some damn tequila. We're talking about a huge group of clowns, usually like these 2 or 3 dozen, sometimes even more, going in there and just grabbing everything on the shelf that's worth grabbing, and then just running out of the store. I mean, you've seen those videos, right? And it's not just drugstores. I mean, they be going into places like Lululemon's, Macy's. I mean, oh my God, and some of the really high-end stores, like like Cartier. And you say, Cartier store? Yeah, they got Cartier stores. But of course, those places tend to be locked up pretty good anyway, and yet you see these clowns go in there with damn mallets, and they start smashing display cases. And of course, display cases tend to be ballistic glass anyway, but some of them, not so much. And they go in there and smash everything, grab everything, and run out. Well, apparently, if you listen to the mainstream media, they'll say, to loosely quote Groucho Marx, are you going to believe us or your lying eyes? And you say, wait, what? Yeah. Now, I'm going to show you a snippet of a video from Jesse Waters. Actually, not Jesse Waters, no, his program, but from the 5 show that he's on there. And they're talking about what's going on in Chicago right now and how they're basically trying to play a game of hide the football when it comes to crime in their town. Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
Reporting crime is now racist. Democrats have found another way to destroy their cities.
Reporting crime is now, guess what, racist. Despite violence running rampant in her area, a progressive Chicago Democrat announcing that she will no longer share crime alerts with her constituents unless they, quote unquote, opt in for it. She claims that the notifications lead to an inaccurate public perception, quote unquote, and added this in her blog. Research also shows us that over-reporting of crime negatively impacts our most marginalized and underserved neighbors. I think that would be victims if we don't give them real-time information. I want to be upfront. I think we should provide this all the time, real-time, to cops and communities. Greg, how do you feel about this?
If only you could opt out of crime. Unfortunately, you can't. The logic here is that reporting crime is somehow more harmful than the crime itself, or you wouldn't be preventing the information, like you say, from future potential victims. What if we applied this logic to other areas? Get rid of food labeling. Don't put warnings on cigarettes or household cleaners, because that might frighten the children. You know, let them drink the Drano instead. So they're basically saying that the citizens can't handle the truth, and yet the politicians will obviously have this information and know what neighborhoods not to walk in, what streets are dangerous. So behind all this is a cowardice. You know, I don't want to be seen as racist if all the reports of crime lead in one direction. But then that assumption is actually racist because you assume black victims care more about black criminals than their own personal safety.
And you also assume that all the crime is being committed by blacks, which it's not. Dana,
right.
What are your thoughts about this?
Well, I'm okay if people want to opt in. I actually don't. I don't want to have the alerts on my phone. I had a friend. Oh, you know her, Lauren Fritz. Lauren Fritz, and she had one of those apps on her phone that would tell you every time there was like anything happening, and her phone was going crazy. She lives in New York City, so it was like there was a robbery, there was this, there was that, and it was too much. And even like if you watch local news in most big major cities,
all it is,
it's the first 20 minutes is all about the crime, and sometimes you might just need a little piece of it. I'm okay with the opting in. What I also think is interesting, though, is that many of these cities are refusing to turn over their crime stats to the FBI, and that's why things are all screwed up. And then the White House is like, actually, crime is down. Like, actually, it's not. Actually, it is. And then we have this debate. But people can see with their own eyes. They know their cities are in bad shape.
You were judge and prosecutor when we didn't have all the technology, the fact that we can even have these options. Does this help to not have this information bombarded? In all fairness, and I think that what she's talking about, the race stuff, is silly. But does this help or harm to not have communities know this real-time stuff?
I understand what Dana's saying. If you've got a phone and you're being bombarded all day long, you're at work, and you know your house is being held up, the house next door is burned down, there's a gang at the other end set. I mean, you don't have time for that. But the thing that we have now that is so helpful is this thing in Chicago called a shot shooter. Is that what it is? If there's a gunshot, it sends an alert. And Brandon Johnson wants to get rid of it in Chicago. He says it's scaring people. I think if there's a shot shooter.
Shot spotter.
All right. That it sends an alert. And it seems to me that it sends the alert, the police show up. And if someone's been injured, they have a chance of surviving. And if someone else that knows the police are coming, they have a chance of not being a victim. But to show how politics play into it, he's keeping this spot shotter or whatever it is until after the DNC, because he knows it works, but he doesn't want the people in Chicago to be aware of how much crime there is. It's almost like ignorance is bliss, and the less you know about it, the better off you'll be. But the more cops know about it, the safer we'll all be.
I sometimes feel like I need one of those on this show. But Jesse, what are your thoughts about the shot spotter and everything?
Well, Harold, the crime in the south side of Chicago is being committed predominantly by African Americans. It's a predominantly African American part of Chicago. And as someone who is 0.1% African American. It is racist to say that this community can't get better, or as some would say, get it together. Someone wrote a book about that went to #1 and is still available on Amazon or where books are sold.
That was perfect.
Do you have any thoughts?
Harold, we have to...
Okay, you saw that, right? Now, some of you saying, oh, that's just a bunch of malarkey. I mean, yeah, it is. Because they know what the real problem is. I mean, these knuckleheads sitting there not reporting on the crime, because it's so-called racist. No, they're basically not reporting on the crime because they know their policies when it came to so-called criminal reform have backfired. Yeah. And it's not just in Chicago, it's happening all over these damn blue cities. Like here in my zip code, you had this clown down there, the DA, letting all the rapists and muggers and damn gangbangers out of jail. And then he's surprised they go right back out and rob and rape and murder again? And I'm thinking, and yet this clown, was it Gascon? Yeah, he has some French sounding name. He keeps doing it. And of course the same thing in Philadelphia. They got some other George Soros bought and paid for damn DA doing the same thing. And then of course at this point you say, well, why they keep doing it if their so-called reform isn't working? Because these people are morons and they're married to their ideology. Now, of course, there was a time back in the past when prison reform and crime reform was prudent, because there was a time back in the past, we're talking like in the 19th century, where prisons were like really, really awful, where there was all kinds of abuse, murder even, happening in these jails. I mean, you didn't have to read Victor Hugo's Les Miserables to know that prisons of the 19th century were pretty bad places, and there was no guarantee you would come out of those places alive. But a lot has changed since the 19th century. In fact, anyone who's gone to Norway, for example, knows that prisons there are actually pretty good. They're almost like a damn 4-star hotel. No joke. Yeah, now some of you are saying, yeah, we don't live in Norway. True. But even places like San Quentin or Chino are not like the prisons like, say, Yuma. And of course, anyone who's seen enough cowboy films knows what Yuma Prison was. Yeah, it was an old territorial prison that was down there in Yuma, Arizona, back in the late 19th, early 20th century before it got shut down. And that was a pretty bad place. Yeah. But the thing is, these knucklehead DAs, I think they're kind of half aware that the prison system in the modern era isn't like it was in the past. And yet, they enact these reforms that basically let some of the most vicious, evil criminals out of jail. And then they go out there and commit more crime. And instead of changing course and saying, okay, our so-called reforms are not working, let's do something else, now they're trying to play a game of hide the football. Saying, oh, we're basically hiding the stats on the criminality because of racism, when in fact, they're really hiding it because they know it makes them look bad. I mean, like Gaston down here at the DA's office, he knows that his reforms don't work. He knows every time that these damn people were getting picked up for everything from strong arm robberies to carjackings, and of course in serious crimes like drug dealing and gang banging and murder. He knows these people are bad news and they need to be locked up, but he can't seem to go over that hurdle to say, okay, we need to keep these people locked up because they're a danger to society. He then instructs his damn assistant DAs to find any legal loophole to let these people out on bail or on OR or on recognizance. And then, of course, before you can say Jack Robinson, these people go out there and pulling a robbery again. I mean, look at damn Alvin Bragg, Fat Albert. I mean, he wasted a whole bunch of time and resources trying to put old Trump in prison. And in the meantime, he has, 3, 4, and in some cases 5-time losers getting arrested from everything from industrial strength shoplifting all the way up to pushing people in front of the damn subway train and getting their legs run over. And then what does he do? These damn people, instead of being remanded, he lets them out again. And then they go out and do the same thing again. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But guess what? A lot of people, smart people, can see right through the bullshit. That's why when these damn stupid George Soros bought and paid for, and let's not pretend, most of these people, if you trace back to their funding when they ran for DA, it came from one of these NGOs bought and paid for by George Soros. Okay? Are we clear now? Yeah. They're trying to basically fool people, trying to basically try to get them to not see, what's the cliche? Try to not to notice the smell of shit. Because I think you probably heard that old joke. I remember heard as a kid that if you smell shit, it's probably something on your own foot. Yeah. And these damn miserable DAs are trying to convince the people in places like Chicago, LA, and points in between that shit you're smelling isn't the shit on your own shoe. Okay? And it's not. So what's going to happen next? Well, God willing, we'll finally vote these people out. Because I think you probably recall that they had one of these George Soros DAs removed from San Francisco. Of course, the clown they replaced him was probably not that much better, but at least the guy who was there before, who was really bad, at least he's not there no more. Now they got to get rid of these other DAs and get someone in there who's solid, someone who knows what they're doing, someone who's not going to let the criminals go. Instead of simply playing a game of hide the football and hiding the stats, saying, oh, we don't have that much crime. And in fact, they know how much crime is happening. They're just not reporting on it. Well, that's all I got to say about these stupid DAs and their stupid shenanigans trying to convince people that the crime isn't as bad as it really is. And that's my opinion.